Greetings, it's August 4th. We had some rain a couple days ago. Things greened up a bit. The deer showed up again. However, the sun is back out again today and things are getting a little crispier. I wanted to check the Sentinel system. There is only one strip that's really appearing. That covers the fires around Tremont Crk, Flat Lake, Sparks Lake, the fire that moved east of Lytton, and the fire that's moved north of Pavilion up the west side of the Fraser River, north of an area called Leon Creek. It appears up to Watson Bar Creek. And I'll put a link to these areas on the Sentinel browser in the description below. But I'd like to zoom into the Tremont Crk fire, which appears to have made moves eastward on infrared. Here we are looking at yesterday's infrared and now today's. The infrared appears to have moved eastward into Tungwa Park and approached the lake. We'll zoom in and look at that again. This is yesterday's infrared and now today. The infrared does not appear to have reached the shore of the lake, and keep in mind that these heat detections can be off position. The large orange MODIS spots are 750 meters. The smaller VIIRS spots are 375 meters, and they can be obscured by smoke and cloud. So we may not be seeing exactly where they are, and we might not be seeing all the heat that exists. These indications do not mean that that square is being consumed by fire. It just means that heat was detected somewhere within that square. There are also pockets of heat still existing at different positions within the existing perimeter, but it does appear that the northeastern flank of this fire also made moves in an eastward direction. There also appears to be some diagonal controlled infrared signatures and some MODIS potential control signatures on the north and east flanks of this fire. So a ground report will be crucial. Let's jump to windy now. Around noon it was coming from the north, 3 kilometers an hour. But if we look at what's happened, winds were coming from the south this morning, then they shifted and started coming from the north. They will slowly start consistently coming from the south. Then tomorrow afternoon there could be gusts from the south over 40 kilometers an hour. Then another weather system moves in. We see some clouds in the forecast, and on Friday afternoon wind gusts could reach 60 kilometers an hour. To access more forecasts, click anywhere on the windy screen and a flag appears. Then click the down arrow on the flag and the forecast appears. At the bottom of the forecast is a compare button. If you click that, you'll be able to look at different weather models stacked up on top of each other and make a comparison on what the forecast may be. And these models do agree that there will be gusts tomorrow, not as strong as 40 kilometers an hour, and there is some disagreement on the gusts predicted for Friday. One shows breezes from the west but no gusts. So it's important to get information from multiple sources to gauge what the forecast will be and what the situation is on the ground. We're back looking at the Sentinel system. This is the fire that moved east of Lytton up towards Spence's Bridge, and if we look at the infrared, there is still a lot of activity on the southern flank, but other areas do look relatively clear. There is a cluster that's still north of the fire zone on the east side of the Fraser, and another 2 hotspots showing up to the west of Dry Knock on the north side of the Thompson. We're moving northeast. This is the Sparks Lake fire. We can see the burn comparison with the vegetation on the outside of the perimeter. Higham and Loon Lake are to the left of the screen, and there's where that activity was most recently a couple of days ago, and then over on the right is the Chris Creek area. Again, I'll leave the link in the description below and then you can zoom in. We've moved slightly north to Young Lake. That's just left of center on the screen, and here we can see how far that burn moved upwards from Vedette. We can also see what forested areas were affected northeast of Young Lake. We're moving westwards now. This is the fire that was just to the north of Chasm. Chasm is at the lower portion of the screen, and here we can see there was a major burn to the south, and then it jumped a bit to the north. There's also different colorations within the burn perimeter that may indicate where areas of intensity were. Let's jump now to the Flat Lake fire. We're moving north and slightly west. This is now on the west side of Highway 97. We can see Green Lake over on the right-hand side of the screen. Meadow Lake is on the lower left, and we can see that activity that is southwest of Gustafson Lake, stretching almost in a tongue shape northward. It was still looking quite volatile yesterday, and if we jump down to the southern flank of this fire, we can see Meadow Lake on the lower left, Alberta Lake at the bottom of the screen. There is still activity right up against Meadow Lake Road. Here's looking at the infrared on NASA's FIRM system, the VIIRS and the MODIS. This is from earlier today. Lots of activity still ongoing, and it appears that there are some diagonal controlled infrared signatures in there, so wildfire crews may be applying control strategies. This is the northeastern flank of the same Flat Lake fire. We're looking west of Highway 97 and west of that infrastructure line that runs straight down the center of the screen. There's a few hotspots appearing on this system. That's that bright glow. And the burn area is not as clearly defined on this imagery. There are different filters on the Sentinel browser system, and you can select between those. There's a brief tutorial on how to use the Sentinel system from a couple of videos ago. I'll put a link in the description below. We're moving south now to an area west of Boston Bar, west of the Fraser River. This is the Nahatlatch. This popped up a few days ago, a fairly extensive burn area in this imagery. There are a few hot spots appearing on the southeastern flank. And today's infrared does show increased activity on the eastern flank, on the southern flank, and on the southwestern flank. There's a line of hotspots there, and this again may be a control strategy. So if you're in these areas, getting that ground report is quite important. You'll want the most timely information. Two other hotspots that I'm watching, Long Island in the center of Harrison Lake, and then to the north of Harrison Lake, one's appearing in a fairly remote area of the mountains up there. We're moving northeast. This is the White Rock Lake fire. Falkland and Westwold are to the north. Monty Lake is at the top of the screen. Vernon is over on the right-hand side of the screen. Again, I couldn't get Sentinel image at this time. That will probably update, and then we can look at what's happened in the area and where the burn may actually appear, depending on cloud conditions and how obscured the imagery is. We're looking at the Shuswap now. North Okanagan and Maple Lake is at the bottom of the screen. It's difficult to gauge activity over the last couple days. There is still infrared showing up in the Momich area, and there are still a few hot spots to the east of Sicamous. We're rolling now to the South Okanagan. We can see Manning Park on the lower left-hand side of the screen, and zooming into that, the perimeter has taken shape. It's burned out in the center. Most of that activity is on the outside edges, and there does appear to be some encroachment on Highway 3, the Crow's Nest Highway, on the eastern flank of this fire at 2 points really. One at East Gate on the southern portion, and one at a little further north after the bends in the road towards Copper Mountain. And then moving over to the southern interior of the province, Lower Arrow Lake, north of Nelson by the Winlaw area. Not seeing very much activity there, though there are heat detections popping up. And moving further north up to the Yellowhead, we can see those two spots from the Raft River fires at the lower portion of the screen just to the right of center. And the hotspots are still showing up around Quest Lake and Horsefly. Canham Lake is actually looking quite clear, and there are still a few hotspots popping up on Taweel. That's the park at the lower portion of the screen. And moving north into the central portion of the province, there are still spots popping up in Tweedsmuir and also east of the Nechako Reservoir. Those are still active. So watch out for wind gusts in the afternoon tomorrow and on Friday. There's a lot of potential for that. And do check out Windy. Check out the forecast for your specific area. There does look to be some cloud cover, potential precipitation in the 100-mile house area Friday, Saturday. So depending on your location, things could get a bit greener, and hopefully any moisture helps wildfire crews and doesn't bring us any lightning. There is a lightning monitor in the description below. Check that out if you want to stay on top of electrical activity, especially if there's thunderstorms. Thank you very much for watching. I took a break for a day. I had to catch up on some chores around the farm. Be safe. Check those ground reports from BC Wildfire. Keep your nose to the breeze.